only word of mouth. What we realized was that other characters who came in would have some good information and some bad information. You know, they'd be right about some things and wildly wrong about others. And also just ratcheted up the moral stakes, because Tom's character is confronted by a very difficult choice, which is, how far will I go to protect myself and my daughter? And the answer is you would do anything to protect yourself and your daughter. And so I like the idea of putting that level of moral and ethical drama in this mainstream movie. So he turned into a pretty fun character.
I just called Tim Robbins, and I thought he was great to play this guy. I've been a huge fan of Tim Robbins. I've always wanted to do a picture with him. And I asked him if he'd come in and do a small part, and he absolutely said there are no small parts. And he read the script, and he said, I love the script, and I love this character. I'm there.
I was really excited to work with Tim. I just think he's a great actor. I think he's a great artist. You know, tremendous director himself and writer. Very unique filmmaker. And I was excited. What is he going to do with his character? He's a great character. How is he going to play this character? And the choices that he made. I mean, Stephen and I, we are very excited about it.
When we first see him, I wanted him to have a hood, and you don't really know, and you just have this shadowy figure kind of beckoning them in. And then a slow reveal, and I just wanted one thing which was really odd about him. I thought that he would hang his hoodie on the back of his head, but his arms would not be in it. And it was just a sort of quirky, slight thing that you'd go, oh, you know, at the point you're starting to think, okay, what's this guy doing? What's he like? You know, how mad is he? And then you go down to this raw state with his wife beater.
Tim, turn, pan.
In the costume, I asked for parts of my family, pieces of them, something I would take that would remind me of them, like the shirt from my son, or an action figure, or a bunny from my daughter, or my wife's wedding ring. And I don't think it's not important that it's never really talked about in dialogue, but it was just a way to fill out the details of someone that had no time to mourn, no time to deal with anything but running to get away.
Look. Now just sink down, right there, just sink down. And cut, good. Very cool, very cool.
Working with Stephen has been very collaborative, and his insight into the character has been invaluable.
It's like you're digging your way out.
I always look for something I haven't done before as an actor, and I haven't played this character before. I haven't had the good fortune yet of being able to explore this kind of insanity in a person.
Expensive movie ever made. According to the London Sun.
People freaking out!
We were there for about 15 days. It was an extremely beautifully designed set by Rick Carter and his art department with great attention to details. I mean, it was just amazing. It felt very real. However, it was a very small set with about 6-7 rooms that were interconnected with water, with various effects. With many crew members on the set. So it was getting a little bit claustrophobic.
For this set, I bought practically everything in there. So it was from secondhand stores, flea markets, garage sales, junk stores. And I was trying to create in that cellar a family that had lived in this farmhouse for many years. So I tried not to have all old things from 1920s, 1930s, but things from the 50s, the 60s, so that it really looked like family history inside the cellar.
And of course, there are very emotional scenes between Dakota and Tom that require great concentration. And at that point, the crew would get really quiet. Most of the crew members would venture outside the set.
Release. Tim. And cut. Good. Where's that? That was very good.
During the scene, I actually caught myself thinking, wow, this is really weird. You know, this is crazy. What if this was actually happening? It would be crazy. In between takes, I was thinking about that, you know.
And then we had this sequence where the monster comes to the basement and chases people, and the camera follows in every single room, and it has to be scary, it has to be fast, it has to be dramatic, and of course, it has to be done really fast. But it was very interesting for me to work on that set because it felt like a real location, but it was a set. So we were able to create some kind of light sources that look a little bit artificial because the entire scene supposedly takes place in a pitch black environment. So we get moonlight coming to the windows. We get shafts of light coming to the walls. We've got unmotivated light illuminating the walls. So it's all very stylized. But at the same time, as you're watching the scene, you realize it is a little bit of a horror scene. So in the horror scene, you have liberty to create light that supports the horror.
Well, it's always important when we're doing visual effects work for the actors to have an idea of what it is that they're dealing with. We're really scared. So we had to build a prop to show, Tom and the actors, what is it that the prop looked like and how big it was, and physically what it is that he's doing.
Makes the turn, comes in a little higher, like that.
The probe was a really fun one because it was one of those moments where Steven wanted to pay tribute to images that we had seen before. So the idea of this three-eyed probe coming into the room, and you don't know if it's the war machine or if it's a technology or if it's actually the creature. And it was a wonderful sequence because in the cellar, it sort of harkens back to the original film where you actually are given a glimpse of something different, but then are revealed that it's not quite what you had assumed it would be. But yet it ties into the actual character itself because the alien, of course, used this probe to sort of scout their locations.
Electronic eye, like a television camera.
We also, because the probe has lights on, and he's looking at all these different parts of the cellar, we had to do a bunch of passes of interactive light.
Yeah.
So it's a very mysterious, suspenseful sequence that took a long time to shoot.
And action.
I think it's a very brave thing for Steven to basically go into this cellar and spend 20 minutes in this very intense confrontation with Ogilvy. And I don't think people are going to expect that. And I think they're going to be completely mesmerized by that.
Clear his face with the gun slowly. Look up at him, Tom.
But I think it's the very thing that separates this movie from a lot of other movies that are similar in this genre, is that it is very character-driven. It's very specific to the dynamic of this family and the dynamic of survival. And I think consequently, it allows the audience to get extremely personally involved in these people.
What? The walk tracking camera. Third place.
And the events surrounding them are extraordinary, but the reason they're going to stay involved in this movie is because of the dynamic between this family.
I did this one scene in the basement.
Left wing.
And the probe comes in and is looking right at my face right there. And I had to do like 10 screams, like all in a row. And everybody afterwards, everybody was like this. trying to get it out of their head.
Look, all the way fast. Light.
So, I guess I have a pretty shrill, loud scream. Tom and Steven are always like, oh my God! It's always so loud.
Mark, can you see what's happening? Let me go.
Action!
Running. A little running and, windows smashing and cars flying at me and me running away. It was great working with Vic. He's just terrific, Vic. He's a legend.
Straight to that, Tom. Keep coming. And just